So I am going to officially open the school planning committee meeting of Wednesday, July 21st, 2021. In keeping with an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law by Governor Baker on June 16th, 2021, this meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by committee members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards the quorum. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on ECAT, and the minutes are also being taken and will be made available as well. As usual, all votes of this meeting will be conducted by roll call, and also as usual, at the discretion of the chair, we will be allowing public participation probably towards the end of the meeting so we can get through agenda items first. With that, I'm going to turn to the first agenda item of this evening, which is approval of the minutes from the last meeting, which I think was the 16th of June. Not the 17th, but I could have that wrong. I'm looking at the minutes and the minutes say the 16th. But with that, could I please have a motion to approve the minutes as shared with the committee members prior to this meeting?
O'Neill, so moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Mark Carlson, second.
I'm going to go ahead and conduct the roll call vote on the minutes. Dr. Cabral?
Yes.
Connor Reed?
Yes.
Caroline O'Neill?
Yes.
Tim Vamosi?
Tim Vamosi, yes.
Ken Carlson?
Yes.
Sam Cedarbaum?
Yes.
And Jane Martin, I'm a yes. So with that, the minutes are approved. And we are now going to move into everybody's favorite part of the meeting, which is when I turn it over to Walter Hartley from PMA and they take it away and give us updates. Walter, all yours.
All right. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
All right, perfect. So we're going to run through a quick construction progress update. We have a bunch of photos to show you guys and go over everything that's been happening on the site. So I'll jump right into it. So here you can see one of the concrete manhole structures being placed on the east side of the site on the left photo. You can see the underground structure that was found, the old abandoned leaching area that's crushed up on the right side. That was the excavation that took place, and that was typically how they removed it, was breaking it up and loading it into trucks. Over on the left side, you can see the excavator hauling out the material. That left side are on the ground is the tanks in their natural state. He breaks them up and was loading them into the truck, but he was also taking out the dirt that was above it. The small stone piles that you can see kind of under the back tire of the truck is actually one of the rammed aggregate piers that was installed in that area. So those go down 15 feet. We did end up taking some of those out during the excavation, but we replaced them with structural fill, as you'll see in the next few photos. On the right side, you can see the milling that took place. So milling of the asphalt at the existing parking lot of the Parkview School. Those two light poles were also taken down, or that pole right there and one a little bit to the left were taken down. The town electrician is actually going to be grabbing those. I'm not sure if they already did, but we've coordinated, Brait has coordinated the pickup of those two lights so they can be reused or kept in storage in case some issues arise with other ones. You can see the concrete manhole structures on the left side of the picture that'll be going in. That'll be the new drainage, which is going to tie into the existing drainage on Spooner Street. So it will have new drainage structures. And on the right, you can see the utility pipe that is going to be connecting those structures. We'll talk about phase 1A, which is what this phase is. But as you can see, this took place on 6/20. This is a picture from 6/24. They were able to begin work over there on 6/23. One of the most exciting parts of the construction has started and is ongoing. If anyone's driven by, we placed our first steel columns on 627. I believe that was even the first day they were delivered to the site. So that is EBuilding, the pre-K wing, first floor. Those are the columns for that building. You can see the stair 5 footings and walls in the background. And further in the background, you can see the corrugated pipe for the water stormwater management. So this is pretty close to the front entry of the building, looking at the pre-K wing on the left. On the right side, you'll see the elevator 1 pit and its associated vapor barrier in the yellow, and the insulation board around it. That will be one of 2 elevators serving the building, one in the south of A building, right on the line of B building, and the other over near the C building. Over on the left, you'll see the progress that was made on the underground infiltration system number 3. So after that excavation took place, where the unacceptable soil was removed, it was replaced in full with structural fill under the building. And where it needed to be replaced under the underground infiltration system, it was replaced with 3/4 inch washed stone. So there will be excellent drainage, acceptable conditions, and they followed the process all the way up. So every foot of material that was placed was rolled with the roller, spread by the dozer, rolled by the roller, tested by the third-party inspection agency, all the way up until we got to elevation 183 and a half, and then the stone was put in, and then it was finally brought up to 184. On the right side, you'll see some additions to those columns that were placed. We have the beams for EBuilding that we're in, and even some of the steel decking has been placed as of 7/6. In front, you can see some of the bar joists and some rebar that are waiting to be placed. You can kind of see the background of the crane there. On the left, you will now see the boulders that were hauled out. So believe it or not, you can see about maybe 1/10 of the pile, but they did haul these boulders out on the 8th of July. Anything over, I believe it is 2 cubic yards. We needed to track. So PMA and Brait worked out together to make sure we tracked anything leaving the site over 2 cubic yards. On the right side, you can see L&L Concrete, the concrete subcontractor, continuing to form up walls. So there's rebar inside of those walls, and they are continuing that process around the entire site. We are probably 60% done with foundation walls at this point, maybe a little further as of today. We have C building, D building, and maybe a little bit in B building left. I believe everyone has access to. If not, it is available on the website, but we do have 3 site cameras. So we thought it'd be kind of cool to see the progress over a month. On the left side, you will see basically the day or so after we had our last building committee on the left. So those footings were excavated. The old infiltration system was there. They did find it right around that time. So then on the right side, you can see the entire excavation process completed as of today. That is a picture from about 45 to an hour ago. And they have the underground infiltration system fully in. So that's the black fabric that you see in the middle of the screen. The building foundation is in and D building, and C building is continuing to tie itself back in. So you see the 4 columns piers on the left and the big excavation for the foundation right there continuing in C building. So that's camera 1 from June 18th to July 21st. And you got camera 2, I apologize, there is a large stockpile and we got it up as high as you could see. So this one's not as fun to look at. But you can see there was no building on the left-hand side, and now there is an extremely large building starting to go up. You can see we received a large delivery of steel That is the steel for the remainder of A building, which is where they'll continue to erect the steel. The cranes moved since it was first on site. It would have been on the south side of the building. Now it is almost directly in the middle of the building. So again, that's camera 2 and then camera 3. So you can see no steel's up, foundation is wrapped up pretty much on the left-hand side. And now we have steel up, the deck on, the roof deck on. We have the masonry for stair 5 almost completed. You can't really see the masonry for stair 6, but it is in the right-hand side of the right picture. That one is completed fully for masonry. But just a good comparison to see what happens in just about 5 weeks, just about under 5 weeks. So really good progress on the site, and we're gonna keep moving. The steel's going up quick. We have some exciting, probably talk about it maybe at the next meeting, would be the steel topping off. So we can now jump over to the, I'm sorry, does anyone have pictures on, questions on any of the pictures, photos? I can answer them. I can't really see anyone, so you're gonna have to speak up. All right. Quick update on cash flow. We have $7.7 million billed to date, with reimbursement to date from the MSBA at about almost $3.9 million. So we're moving right along. We do have a requisition from Brait that is in review. We're awaiting a couple deliverables from them, actually one deliverable remaining, but it will be a combined May-June rec. So there will be a large spike on the red bar, but that's simply because they did not provide a requisition for May, and it is a combined May and June requisition. So we'll anticipate a rather large spike on the red bar there, but nothing to be concerned about, and we'll move right forward. Quick contingency update. So as we've moved through the first about 4 months of the project, about 17% of the timeline through to substantial completion has elapsed. We have about 83% of the project remaining timeline-wise. Original construction contingency, this is less the voted in bid savings. So this is the original construction contingency. Available contingency remains at 85%. We don't have anything pending right now, but we do have one change order work through at about $53,000. So in really good shape there. Authorized changes to date are about 0.9, and current exposure we have about 8.7. So we're in really good shape here. We're out of the ground. We obviously did have the underground infiltration system 3, but that's been tracked fully. PMA is working with Brait and Perkins Eastman on negotiating that, and we will likely have an update at the next building committee where we can provide either where that negotiation is or how that negotiation was completed.
Walter, can you talk a little bit about on that slide, current exposure? Can you explain that a little bit in terms of,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yep, absolutely. So current exposure is basically anything that PMA has eyes on that could be a potential cost that would be needed to be supplemented from construction contingency. So as Brait submits PCOs, they may feel that something is not in the contract, that the filed sub is not in the contract, they feel is not in the contract. PMA and Perkins Eastman fully vet that PCO to review if it's within the contract documents, if it's in the specifications, if it's in the drawings. From that point, after that determination, if it's determined that there is a legitimate cost, PMA and Perkins Eastman then review that cost to make sure that the town is paying a fair price for that cost of work. That includes labor rates, material prices, and time and hours as well. So before anything is even reviewed with the TRC, PMA and Perkins Eastman are double, triple checking that work to ensure. So the reason for the number there being what seems to be rather large is that is tracking that UGI number 3 exposure, and the additionally the original structure in the beginning, which we're carrying higher costs than in our current log, higher than what we feel we would be comfortable presenting to the technical review committee for approval. So we're still in the negotiation process, but we carry a higher exposure to ensure that we know that the exposure's there. That doesn't mean that that's the number that would be paid. That means that's where it was last submitted by the general contractor.
So in some cases, some of that exposure may actually move forward to be an authorized change. In some cases, not all of that exposure will materialize. Okay.
Exactly. What we track is worst case scenario. Yep.
Okay.
There are costs in that number that we've outright rejected and we don't think really are legitimate at all. But until the contractor says, yes, we agree that's not a legitimate cost and we can clear it from our books, we hold it until we know that we're free from a potential claim.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Hey, Walter,
Yep.
at what point in the contract do you normally see the most, contingency utilization on change orders? Is it like in the beginning when you're coming out of the ground, or is it when you're putting the building up?
It is typically when you're coming out of the ground. The one caveat I would say to that is there can also be when we go back into the ground with the building we're going to take down. So there could be some, I won't say there are, but there could be some larger exposure on the time frame when we do take down the existing park view. I will say we have a great asbestos consultant from Perkins Eastman from UEC who does typically capture anything. But if there were something in there that absolutely couldn't be seen, an enormous concrete structure under there that no one knew about, that would be something that, just a stab in the dark at something that could be a potential cost. But those would be the two times. You're right, Ken, the beginning coming out of the ground, but in this case, we do have the potential of going back in the ground at the end of the job as well.
So that looks pretty good. We're at, what is it, 16% on the construction end and a little bit less on the exposure.
I think Chad and I would both feel comfortable saying we're comfortable with where we're at. And as we continue that negotiation process, we do hope that number does, I would say, shrink down quite a bit. But we are working through that, and it is a negotiation process that takes a little bit of time. So we are comfortable with where that's at, and we'd be hard pressed to find something large cost that's in the ground that we haven't found yet. We did find those two already, but going back in the building would be the other time that we could find something.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'm going to turn it over to Chad quick to describe the OnSite IQ proposal and vote. So I believe we talked about it at the last meeting, but Chad's got some further information for everyone.
All right, thanks, Walter. Yeah, so we had talked about this a while ago. It's completely up to the committee. This is not something that's required, but we do find that it's something helpful for the building occupants and especially the facility managers of the building going forward for years to come. And what the proposal includes is weekly photo documentation. So they imagine like the Google car street view that you see driving around sometimes. Imagine somebody walking through with a high-tech camera on a tripod and doing really what the Google Street View does. And they walk through the building and they walk the same route once a week on a set day. And it all ties out to a floor plan of the building, and you can click a location in the building, and then you can go through every weekly visit and take a look back in time. So in this case, this is showing an administration area in one of PMA's projects, and you can jump back in time. So the right picture is what it looks like today, and then on the left picture is what it looked like when we had before drywall went up and when the mechanical, electrical, plumbing stuff was going on. So you can get a view in the wall and above the ceiling to see where your wires are, where your ductwork is, where your sprinkler mains are, and you can literally walk around the building virtually as if you were there during construction. So again, completely optional, but it is something that that a lot of towns are taking advantage of nowadays. The unfortunate part is the MSBA does not consider this eligible for reimbursement, so the cost is entirely captured by the town. The proposal that we have is $32,726. That's from OnSite IQ. There are a couple of companies that we work with. OnSite IQ generally is the lowest cost for the best service that we see. Included in that is the setup of the documentation system and then weekly site visits for 76 weeks, which is really our project anticipated duration of 16 months for the new building. So again, discretionary, completely up to the committee. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
I'd like to hear from the two folks I'd like to hear from are Dave Twombly and perhaps Dave Field on this.
Yeah, I can definitely chime in. I highly recommend this. I think it would pay for itself within probably the first year of occupancy. The amount of work we do in all of our buildings and having something like this really is a game changer. So I highly recommend it. There's always need to run additional electrical, to get into plumbing fixtures, to fix leaks, and knowing what's behind the walls is crucial. So I highly recommend it.
Yeah, Jane, I'm not as familiar with this particular program, but I hear what David's saying. Has been several times where we've had various issues at the schools where we're always kind of scratching our head and saying, oh, I wonder if that's a load bearing wall, or is there a sprinkler there, or this or that. So I think this here would be pretty valuable for the maintenance people.
I agree with that. I think it in the beginning of the project, before the walls are sealed up, it's really valuable, like Dave said, to know where everything is. The one question I have is this doesn't provide distances to anything, right? Measurements. It's just video.
It actually, I think it does in the new versions, Ken. The old ones, yeah, were just raw pictures, but now I think we can actually measure. If you want, I can take over the screen share and show you.
If they're using the same technology that the modeling that we do when we go in and do point-based models and dollhouse models, which it seems like they may be, you can measure off of it.
We use like a Matterport camera.
That's what we're, yeah.
Projects, which will give you the measurements.
That'll allow you to do that.
But whether you get those or not, Dave's point's well taken, that if you've got a video, which is better than a photo, of what's behind those walls, that's very important.
So I'm actually I'm on the website now, and there's a beta version that does have measurements on there. So yeah, you could measure, and I think the technology is very similar to the Matterport that you would see. The Matterport is incredibly accurate, right down to like 1/4 of an inch. I don't know that OnSite IQ is there now, but it'll give you rough measurements for sure if you're looking for a ballpark.
If this were to move forward, school planning committee would recommend it. It would go to the select board at some point. What contingency bucket would this come out of? Soft cost?
We actually have an extra services allowance within PMA's contract, so we don't even need an amendment or any contingency draft. You already have it in the budget.
Okay.
Jane?
Yep, go ahead, Caroline.
As one of the non-experts, I'd just like to say I love this idea. I think it would be great for any construction of even a house. I think it's just such a creative, innovative idea. Very much in favor of it.
Any other comments or questions? And if not, then I'm going to move forward and ask for a motion. Do you need us to, do you want me to make the motion, Chad? Is this an actual quote? Should I make it, for this amount? Should I make it?
So you can make it just authorization for PMA to enter in an agreement with OnSite IQ.
Okay. Yep. So I'm going to ask for a motion from the school planning committee to authorize PMA to enter into negotiations with and an agreement with OnSite IQ to provide the services that have been presented to the school planning committee this evening.
Vamosi, so moved.
Cabral, second.
Great. Roll call vote, Cabral,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Vamosi,
Vamosi is yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Cedarbaum,
Yes.
O'Neill. Did I say you already? Sorry, Caroline. And Martin, and I didn't miss anybody. Did I? Patrick hasn't joined the meeting, has he? I just
Wiseman
can't.
has joined the meeting.
Oh, hi, Jackie.
Hi.
Sorry, I can't see you.
That's
Thanks.
okay. Wiseman, yes.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. And with that, you can move us along.
All right, so I will, I'm gonna jump to the next slide. This is just a refresher, and I wanna just, two things. The item that was crossed out on the agenda, we actually don't need a vote on the black mineral wool, which was a discretionary item. The reason that was on there originally was for potential swap of materials, but it's been determined that the material they were going to swap for is even a longer lead time, so the Great Builders is now back to the original specified product. So no vote necessary, and we're moving forward. But just wanted to give everyone a quick update and refresher on phase 1A work. So this has been reviewed with the committee, but just want to make sure everyone's aware, in the neighborhood and what's going on. From 6/23 to 8/26. So on 8/26, this work is scheduled to be completed. Great Builders, as you saw, took out the asphalt at the old parking lot. They will be reforming and reshaping to come up to the shape of the parking lot that you'll see on the screen. They'll be putting in the new utilities, providing temporary parking, stall striping, and to turn it back over for phase 2. You can also see the drainage line in the middle of the parking lot that runs back to the drainage within Spooner Street. And then on the over on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the utility corridor, the underground utility corridor that they'll be installing. So they need to get those utilities in. That roadway has been milled. And they'll be putting in temp paving and stubbing in the utilities to get them as close as they can for the adjacent phases. And they'll also be putting in the conduit for the irrigation shed. So this scope is scheduled to take place and be completed by 8/26. There was a request from the general contractor, Brait, to tackle phase 1B, which you kind of see on your screen right there. And it's only the request was only a portion of phase 1B, but it was reviewed and determined at the weekly meetings that this may not be most advantageous to the district at this point in time. What is most advantageous and kind of why it was laid out this way was this parking lot and making sure that when school opens in September, that the parking is back, it's accessible, it's able to be used, it's safe, easy to maintain. And other work can continue. Having the utility line stubbed in will allow power to be pulled at a future time, cable and telephone to be pulled at a future time. So at this point in time, we're not anticipating or we're not accepting opening of any of the phase 1B work, but there's a consideration that should this phase 1A work be done, that some of the phase 1B work, and really it is the force main that ties from the existing leaching field. So if everyone can see my cursor, about right here, down to the existing wastewater treatment plant. That would be the only consideration, would be if this entire scope highlighted in yellow is completed by the 8/13 date as opposed to the 8/26 date. So 8/26 contractual, 8/13 is what was provided to Great Builders today, and we're going to get that information over to them. So additionally, I just wanted everyone to be aware that Great Builders does have their engineering and survey crew. So you can see the limit of work. It's the dotted and dashed line. They are out there staking. They were out there earlier today, so they're staking the line. And the reason for putting those stakes in is so that the arborist and landscape designer can review and make sure that only the trees that are on the property of the town and the school get taken down, and that they can determine what needs to stay. So a lot of times landscape and landscape architects want to make sure that we maintain as much heavy vegetation as we can in those areas to provide some comfort between the school property and the abutters. So we just want everyone to be aware, if anyone is on the call or anyone does get to see this, that we are not impeding on any private property. We are right on the property line as surveyed, as outlined, and as discussed over the last year and a half. But those guys are out there laying stakes and flagging them as well. So they will be out there, and just want to give everyone that update, and happy to take any questions on the phase 1A scope as well.
So I want to ask, I actually have two questions, and I know the answer is yes, but I'm going to say it publicly, is I want to make sure that any and all abutters in the area have been notified of this work. And if not, I'd like to request that, whether it's from the district or PMA on behalf of the district, that we deliver this, we do a letter similar to what we've done in the past, I believe, to abutters about work that's going on. And if you can just clarify that.
I will clarify that. I'm going to double check after this meeting, but I'm 99% sure that we put this phasing plan on the abutters notification.
Okay.
But Chad, I can't remember fully, but I want to say that we did.
Right. And that was right.
We'll
What's
get
that,
something
Jeff?
either way.
Yep.
Make sure
Okay.
the extension's out there.
And then my next question is just to be sure that I understand about the phase 1B work is, so right now what you're saying is that the phase 1A is scheduled to be done 8/26.
Yep.
But by chance, should that work, phase 1A, be wrapped up by 8/13, that there is a possibility that you will allow some of the phase 1B work to begin and completed by 8/26?
Correct.
Did I got it? Okay.
100%.
Okay, and same thing, I don't know if any of this phase 1B work would have any impact on abutters, but if it does, I want to make sure that we notify appropriately for that as well.
Phase 1B early scope, I guess we could call it, would not have any potential abutters other than the school. So it would be roadway work, jumping across a roadway, police and fire, and they would be notified, or it would be reviewed with them before it was happening as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
the major impact from phase 1B would be installation of the force main underneath Lothrop Street. We have to cross Lothrop Street with it, and that's the piece that they want to do early. But we've asked them not to open up something on Lothrop Street until they've finished up what they need to do over on the Spooner Street side of things.
And Jane, we did ask today for Brate to confirm, and they are going to confirm, but they're at this point in time, no one from PMA, no one from Perkins, and I don't believe anyone from Brate has any anticipation that there would be any type of utility outages, because this work is tying in underground structures for stormwater management, and then running for future tie-in for the power to the building, the tel data to the building, and the water to the building. The only potential service shutdown would be on the relocation of the utility pole, which you can see at the corner of Spooner and the roadway right there. Sorry, right here. That would be the only potential shutdown, but at this point, that work is not scheduled. But if there was to be a potential shutdown, there certainly would be a notification as well.
I would like to add, when you're talking about the stakes for the perimeter of the project, they're not obviously permanent. They can be moved. So I would emphatically and respectfully ask anyone who has questions about where a stake is, particularly if there's some sort of disagreement or misunderstanding about it, to please contact PMA directly or us at central office, and we will immediately clarify that for you, provide evidentiary information, whatever it is that's necessary, but moving them really isn't an option. You can see that, obviously they're put in by the surveyors. A lot of expense goes into placing them. And if they get moved and people have to come back, it creates more of an expense. So We will expeditiously clarify or rectify any problems, but please contact us directly and
Certainly.
don't take liberties on moving anything, please.
Yep, we're happy to answer any questions and review with anyone.
Any other questions about this work right now, either from members of the school planning committee or any members of the community who happen to be here? And I can't see my screen, so I can't see everybody. Okay, so I guess not. So Walter.
All right, one more slide and that's it. So just want to give everyone a quick update. SBC meeting schedule, August 18th, 2021, the 15th of September, the 20th of October, the 17th of November, and the 15th of December. PMA does not, Chad, I just want to check with you. Do you have any new business items to bring up? I don't.
Nope, nothing on my end.
All right, Perkins team, Dan, Don, do you guys, and Jess, I think I saw Jessica on there. Do you guys have any new business items?
I do not.
All right. And,
I don't either.
All right. And Jane, I will turn it back over to you for any new business items you may have and or meeting adjournment.
Yeah, from the school side, there's no new business that I know of. Dr. Cabral, is there anything? Okay.
No, there isn't. I just want to thank PMA again for we have weekly visits of the site, as well as the meetings with the designer and with PE, PMA, and Bray every week, and they're going very smoothly. It's amazing, the background knowledge, the experience, everything they bring to the table. We're very appreciative of their ongoing cooperation and work and keeping us up to date on everything.
Great, thank you. Just looking at this schedule, and I'm sure you've probably already got it on, either you or Dr. Cabral have already been talking about it, but for the August 18th meeting, if we could just maybe put an agenda item that we'll talk about as we get closer to school reopening in September, kind of some of the logistics around that, so that if we need to be communicating with members of the district and school community, we can do that appropriately. So if we can just hold that as a August topic, that would be great.
Will do.
And are there any other questions or comments before I ask for a motion to adjourn? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and ask for a motion to adjourn.
O'Neill's
Or not.
second. O'Neill second. Somebody I think moved.
Yeah, I
first.
think so.
Yeah.
So roll call vote, Cabral,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Vamosi,
Mostly yes.
Wiseman,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Cedarbaum,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes. And so with that, the school planning committee meeting of July 21st is officially adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Try and
Thank
stay
you.
dry in all this weather.
Thank you.
Thank
Right.
you all.
Sweet.
Have a good evening.
Good night.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Bye.
probably.